Hello and welcome to the Labyrinth lesson. And I just want to start by saying that you will need a piece of paper. A large paper is lovely if you have something large, but if you only have a piece of printer paper, that'll work. And then two colors. I've got red and black, two maybe contrasting colors. I'm using red and black because of the whiteboard that I have, but any two colors that you would like. And if you have a whole set of colors, you could be very colorful with this if you want. Yeah, so that's all it really takes. So go ahead and get your supplies and come on back and we'll start our lesson. So I'd like to start by asking you to think about, what do you already know about labyrinths? What is a labyrinth? And if you are here with us, you're welcome to share, Manvi, what you know about labyrinth.
Well, what I know about it is it's like a sacred path to walk. That's the labyrinth that I've done. So it can be tall so you can't see it around you, or it can be just flat on the ground. But the idea is that you're following a kind of a twisting and turning road, and you know you're going to eventually get to the middle, but because it's not straightforward, you just have to follow it one step at a time. And because it's not just like a straight line too, I feel like it puts you in a different headspace when you're walking it, because you're not using the same mind. Like, it helps me as a sacred practice to walk it because I'm in a different mind. Yeah.
Right, beautifully said. So if, what Manvi is referencing are usually they're big stone labyrinths. It's easy to make them with stones. You'll see them at spas they're around town. San Diego has one, I think, at, I can't remember which hospital, but there's a hospital that has one. There's some different, like the Golden Door has one, and yeah, there's neighborhoods that have them, and so you could just do one in your backyard. Whenever I go to the beach, I'll draw one on the beach and just walk it in the sand. But walking it does what Manvi is saying is it actually does, because it's like a spiral or a circular path. It actually has a way of slowing down the brain waves, and you do enter into a different brainwave state. That's some neuroscience that is true about labyrinths. So that's why they're used as meditation, because it's a moving meditation. And they're very commonly used in Buddhism and Taoism. And you might see like images of monks, walking very slowly, really focusing on cultivating present mind awareness, one step at a time, like Manvi said. And so it is a tool that's been used for mindfulness, and also as almost like a roadmap for the psyche for thousands and thousands of years. I mean, they have found labyrinths in caves in the Himalayas. They found them in South America. I mean, they've found them in pretty much all the continents. I think most of the continents, at least, as tools that ancient peoples have used for just journeying through life's transitions and transformations, and going from like the outside to the inside, or from the mundane into the center of the being or the soul, the sacred, and then coming back out again transformed. Yeah, they've even found them in, I remember hearing of a labyrinth in France that is at the very basement of this giant Catholic, I think it's a Catholic cathedral. Maybe it's not Catholic. It might be another Protestant cathedral or something. Um, but the pagans had built one there, and then the Christians had built a whole cathedral over. They didn't destroy the labyrinth. They left it in the basement. So it's, it is found in all corners of the world. And in 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 um, in birth, in birthing from within, we use the labyrinth as one of the first things we teach about, as a new map, basically, for the consciousness. A new map, as in, if we think about like what Munby said, is most of the maps, or most of the paths are linear, right? Everything, like when we drive, the paths are usually pretty linear with intersections. Even a maze, people oftentimes, when I ask them what is a labyrinth, they'll say, oh, it's like a maze. And a maze is actually very different. It's very different from a labyrinth. In that movie by David Bowie, it's called Labyrinth. It's not even a labyrinth, actually. It's a maze, because he comes at it in all these different areas. And I was really upset when I realized, this isn't even actually a labyrinth. Anyways, the mazes are actually intended to confuse you. There's all these dead ends, and there's all these traps, and you have to really strategize and look ahead and really think and be in your rational brain to try to get out of a maze. And there can be a lot of anxiety and claustrophobia in mazes too. But a labyrinth is unicursal, meaning one path, one pathway that winds around and around and around and around and around. It goes into the center. And there's no getting lost, because then you just take the same pathway all the way back out again. Even if you feel disoriented or you feel like you're lost, you really are not lost. You just need to learn to trust the path and just take that one step, the one step. You might not know where you are, which twist and turn you're at, how close you are to the center or how far away, but yet you trust the path. And you stay present to each step and your breath. This is why it's a beautiful metaphor for labor and birth, because we don't know if this next contraction will catapult you into the center of your labyrinth where you'll birth your baby, or if you're going to be laboring for 300 more contractions, or 3 more days. Like, we just don't know. So the safest place to be is right there in your process, in that moment, trusting the path, not trying to take any shortcuts and jumping over the paths, but staying right where you are. And to kind of like extend this out beyond pregnancy right now, I feel like the world, we're all sort of entering into a new reality right now. It's like a new labyrinth collectively we're entering into. It's like we've been all kind of thrust across a threshold, and we're traveling on this path of uncertainties, of changes, twists and turns with all the things going on with the coronavirus. And, have we got to the center? Is it going to, end for us here, in America? Are we going to start coming out of this labyrinth together? And when we do come out, how will we be different? Because when you enter into a labyrinth, especially with mindfulness and with awareness and consciousness that you are in this labyrinth, you are in a process of transformation. You don't come out the same. Something maybe got left behind in the center of your labyrinth. Maybe a part of you that's not serving you anymore got left behind. And you come out different. And so as a collective, I feel like the entire globe, all of us are walking this path together. And some of us, like some countries, have maybe gotten to the middle, like China, I feel like it's gotten to the center. And now they're kind of coming back out. but yet we're still traveling. We're still getting to the center. And then we're all going to come out of this together with some deeper insights and some deeper awareness. So whether you're using this today as a path and a map and a tool for your own journey and to help your brain slow down those brain waves, to help you go into a meditative space so you can journey with your baby into your labor and that place in the middle, and then coming back out would be postpartum for you. Whether that's how you use the map now, or you use it as a greater map for what we're going through as a collective consciousness on this planet right now, or both, it's a wonderful tool. Because if you know where you are on the map, and we have a map, then you don't really go crazy as much, right? You're not alone. So let's do this. If you can't build a labyrinth, or you can't leave your house right now and go to those labyrinths, certainly you wouldn't want to be walking a labyrinth with a lot of people walking by you and breathing on you right now. We can make our own, and you can trace it with your finger. You can trace it with your eyes, and you can still experience that deep brainwave, kind of soothing brainwave state. Okay, so on your labyrinth, you're going to, I have my whiteboard. You probably, either way is fine. You can have your, I'm showing you, you can have your paper this way, or you can have your paper this way. But just know that we're going to start with a plus sign. And when you have your plus sign, you're going to want it like at the bottom 1/3, like 1/4 to 1/3. That's the placement of the seed. So you don't have to draw that yet. Just, I'm going to show you the paper here because my whiteboard is so big, you won't really know where to place it on your paper. So that's what I'm saying, because the labyrinth we're going to draw is going to get bigger up this way, a lot bigger. So you want enough space down here, but more space on top. Okay, just keep that in mind when we get started. Okay, so taking one color, doesn't matter which one, we're going to start with drawing the seed. Every labyrinth starts with a seed. Just like every pregnancy starts with a seed. And so from the bottom of your paper up to about maybe like 1/4 to 1/3 of the way up, you're going to draw a plus sign. And then you're going to look at these 4 quadrants of the plus sign, and you're going to do these little elbow brackets, like an L, like this, and they're all the little elbow points are going to point to the center of the plus sign. And you want to make sure that you have enough room to fit your finger in between the lines, in between the elbow and the plus sign. Okay, so once you have your elbows, you're going to look at this shape as if it were perhaps a square. I'm going to put a dot in the corner of each corner of that square. Can you see the dots? Yeah? Okay, I can move you a little closer. There we go, that's better. Okay, now that is our seed. We are making a 7-circuit labyrinth. If you have children at home and you want to do this with your kids, maybe Manvi can remind me, there's a really beautiful 3-circuit labyrinth that is so easy to make. I've done it with like 4-year-olds. It's so easy to make. So they're also entering into a labyrinth of becoming an older sister or older brother. And if you do this with them, it can be a lot of fun. Okay, now you can switch colors because we're going to draw the path. Okay, so the path begins by taking your color and extending a line up from the middle of the plus sign. And I like to make a little light bulb type shape and connect that line with the vertical part of the that L bracket on the upper right side. I'm gonna use my black one because the red isn't showing up very well on here. Okay. Okay. So it's like a little light bulb, and it connects with the upper part of the L bracket on the upper right. Now we're going to move to the left. The top, the vertical part of that L bracket on the upper left quadrant, you're going to extend that line out, and you're going to connect it with the dot on the upper right. Now you're going to take the dot on the upper left, you're going to loop that around, and you're going to connect it with the horizontal part of the L bracket on the upper right quadrant. And then the horizontal L bracket on the upper left quadrant, that one comes up and it loops around and it connects with the horizontal part of the plus sign. Now the horizontal part of the plus sign on the left, that loops up and around and connects with the horizontal part of that L bracket on the lower right quadrant. And then the L bracket on the lower left, the horizontal part, that one extends out and loops around and connects with the dot on the lower right quadrant. We're good? Almost there?
Oh, I think I missed one.
Oh, do you have an erasable? Yeah. It's easy to do. It confuses you just even making it. And are you starting over?
No, I figured it out. I just went too low on the last one.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that's why in my birthing from within classes, we use chalk, because if you mess up, it's like just smear the chalk and it's okay. It's better than using a pen or a marker. Okay, now the dot on the lower left is going to come up and loop around to the L bracket on the lower right, the vertical part of the L bracket on the lower right. Okay, one more. Now the L bracket, the vertical part of the L bracket on the lower left, that one is going to come down, it's going to loop up and around and connect with the vertical part of the plus sign. And you should have your 7-circuit labyrinth. Did it come together for you, Monday? Yay, okay. So then what you would do is you would take your finger. This is the entrance of your labyrinth. And you would take your finger, and you can go ahead and do this now. Let's see, I'll probably end the recording soon. But you would trace your finger around and around and follow the path. So I'll turn the recording off here in a minute. But you're going to follow the path around, and when you get to the middle of your labyrinth, this is sort of symbolic to going deep, deep inside your own like mothering soul, and where it's almost like this mother bear is hibernating, you know, and she's not who she was, but yet she hasn't come out of the labyrinth. She doesn't know who she is yet, but yet there's a baby here. But it's when you come into this middle, it's when the baby is born. and you're just in this like liminal space. It's about 3 days where a lot of women are suspended here, kind of like in a different reality. And then, you know, the milk comes in and slowly, slowly she starts to navigate out her labyrinth. As now coming in, she was laboring for the birth of her baby. Yet coming out, now she's laboring for the birth of herself as a mother, right? And so she comes out, and sometimes it takes a couple of years to come out, 2 or 3 years, a lot of moms say. Some moms feel like, yeah, like they kind of emerge after about 6 weeks, that 40 days, that sacred window. They emerge. But truly, a lot of us, it takes it a couple of years. Yeah. So I invite you to enjoy tracing your labyrinth. You can use your finger. Here's some fun things. You can use your finger. You can try using your non-dominant finger and see how that's different. You can try using your breath when you go through it, almost as if your breath is like propelling your finger forward. Really mindful with your breath. You can light a candle and you can trace it with your eyes, like put it on the wall and trace it with your eyes as a meditation practice. And lastly, you know, if you want to really get creative with your labyrinth, you can create a threshold. So maybe something symbolic like a rainbow or a gate or Om symbol, something that symbolizes maybe like a butterfly or a caterpillar or something that symbolizes you're crossing a threshold. You're entering into a sacred temple type place, or you're leaving the mundane and you're moving into another dimension. You could draw a threshold. You could draw like a symbol for the baby in the middle. Whatever, I just drew a heart. You could draw whatever you want. And you can also, you know, put some things in your labyrinth, some symbols of things that you're looking forward to about your labor and your birth and your postpartum time. You could put some things that you're not looking forward to about your labor and your birth, because it's all part of the journey. We can't have any growth if we don't have any struggle, right? So things that you might struggle with, things that you're gonna love, draw little symbols and put them in there, or do this with your partner. It's even better. And you can also put little footprints out here. It's kind of what we do in Birthing from Within. We put little footprints sort of leading over to the path, representing who you are now and this world outside of the labyrinth, and then crossing that threshold and going in. And there you have your labyrinth. Enjoy and post on the Facebook group if you drew something fun and you had a good experience with your labyrinth.